Sparkle Twins.
Hello friends, welcome back to the Sparkle Twins. It's me, Miriam, and today our topic is about cellular respiration. Let's get started. Well, before we get started, we need to know something called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. ATP is an energy source. Okay, ATP has a base called adenine, sugar that's called ribose, and 3 phosphates. That's why it's called adenosine triphosphate. Okay, ATP is a nucleic acid. Remember from the 4 biomolecules video? Nucleic acids are a biomolecule. Okay, well, cells have to make ATP. It doesn't matter what type of cell, prokaryote or eukaryote, we have to make ATP. The process of making ATP can be different depending on the cell. Well, one way is called aerobic cellular respiration. Lots of organisms can do aerobic cellular respiration, but this video is going into aerobic cellular respiration in eukaryotic cells. That means cells that have membrane-bound organelles, such as a nucleus and mitochondria. Okay, so let's get started. Well, the major goal for any organism performing this is to make ATP. Okay, this is the equation for aerobic cellular respiration. Remember, the inputs are on the left side and the outputs are on the right side. Okay, we need glucose to get this process started. Let's assume we have 1 glucose molecule. Okay, step 1, glycolysis. This step takes place inside the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cells. This is an anaerobic step. It means it doesn't require any oxygen. Okay, so the glucose, the sugar, will be converted into pyruvate. Okay, glycolysis does take a little bit of ATP to start off. What we need for this process is 2 ATP and 2 NADH. NADH is a coenzyme. NADH assists in transferring electrons. That'll help in making even more ATP later on. Okay, now an intermediate step occurs. The 2-pyruvate are transported into the mitochondria, specifically the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, and in the mitochondria, the 2-pyruvate are converted into 2-acetyl-CoA, which will be used by the next step. Okay, the next step is the Krebs cycle, also called the citric acid cycle. Okay, still in the mitochondrial matrix. The citric acid cycle is still in the mitochondrial matrix. Here, it's an aerobic process. That means it uses oxygen. It needs oxygen. Okay, the 2-acetyl-CoA will enter the mitochondria. After that, carbon dioxide is released, and we get 2 ATP, 6 NADH, and 2 FADH. FADH is also a coenzyme. Just like NADH, it assists in transferring electrons. Okay, now the electron transport chain and chemiosmosis. Here, it's in the inner mitochondrial membrane. The inner mitochondrial membrane looks like this. Remember the mitochondrial matrix? Now we're in the inner membrane. And outside the inner membrane is the intermembrane space. Okay, so this is an aerobic step, means it needs oxygen. Okay, so it's a really complex process, but I'm simplifying it. Basically, the electrons from the NADH and FADH get transported outside of the inner membrane through an electron carrier. The electron carrier sends the protons into the intermembrane space, and this entire place is the intermembrane space that's outside of the inner membrane. Okay, so over here, these protons generate a proton gradient. A proton gradient is an energy source. Okay, so thing is, ions like the H+ can't travel through the cell membranes. For example, this is an ion, and this huge thing over here is the cell membrane. Ions can't travel easily through the cell membranes without something to travel through. They travel through something called ATP synthase. ATP synthase adds a phosphate to ADP. ADP is adenosine diphosphate. ADP has 2 phosphates, but ADP has 2 phosphates, but when it gets a third phosphate, it becomes ATP. Okay, so now in chemiosmosis, these protons travel through through the ATP synthase, powering it to make ATP, the ultimate goal. Oxygen is the final acceptor of the electrons. When oxygen is combined with 2 hydrogens, we get H2O, water. Fact time! This is today's fact. Plants can do both cellular respiration and photosynthesis. Yeah, like when a plant is a seed, it doesn't have any leaves, so it does cellular respiration. But once it grows and it gets leaves, it can do photosynthesis. They'll be able to do both cellular respiration and photosynthesis. That's the end of today's video. Make sure you liked and subscribed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!